On our anniversary, family and friends gathered together. The room was full of laughter, toasts, and the clinking of glasses. As usual, I sat slightly apart, not wanting to draw too much attention. When my husband stood up, I knew he would say something sharp. He always did. But I wasn't prepared for what came next. "You've always been nothing but a village disgrace to me." The words shattered the air like breaking glass. The guests froze, not knowing where to look. And I smiled. Not from joy, but to hide the sting of his cruelty. That smile masked years of patience, of swallowing pain, of being afraid to show weakness. I used to feel ashamed of my roots, the rough wood of my parents' home, my accent, the simple words I used. But with time, I realized those imperfections were my truth. They were what made me who I am. And in that moment, staring at my husband, I suddenly understood. His words reflected his weakness, not mine. For the first time, I felt no shame. Instead, a quiet certainty filled me, that my path, my truth, was far more valuable than his opinion. I thought of our years together. A family, a life of comfort, a picture of stability. But behind that polished facade was a cold emptiness. His endless criticisms fell like relentless rain, monotonous, exhausting. "You don't know how to behave. You dress too simply. You'll never belong here." Each phrase left invisible scars on my heart. For so long I believed I deserved them. I tried to change, to dress in fine clothes, to speak more carefully, to read the right books. But the harder I tried, the further I drifted from myself. One day, I looked into the mirror and saw a woman with hollow eyes. And I asked myself, what am I doing this for? For a man who neither loves nor respects me. That thought became the key to a locked door inside me. A door I had feared to open. Behind it wasn't anger but deep exhaustion. And a quiet longing to return to myself. So when, at that anniversary dinner, he dressed up his old insults in new wrapping, my hand instinctively reached for my purse. Inside was a pendant my grandmother had given me before she passed. A small oak leaf, symbol of strength, memory, and faith in oneself. I clenched it tightly, and in that instant my fear slipped away. I lifted my eyes and spoke. "You call me a disgrace. I call myself the memory of my ancestors. You see no value in my roots. But I do." For the first time, I wasn't speaking for others. I was speaking for me. Each word rose from my heart, breaking the chains I had carried for years. My husband frowned and turned away. But I realized, his reaction could no longer wound me. Inside me, a surprising lightness grew. It was as if a heavy burden had finally dissolved. That pendant wasn't just jewelry. It reminded me, my roots, my truth are my home. The room was silent. Some guests looked away, some stared with curiosity. My husband tried to respond, but I no longer cared. For the first time, I clearly heard my inner voice. "You don't need to prove your worth. You are already enough." I thought of my grandmother, her rough hands, her warm laughter, and her words. "Don't lower your eyes when you speak the truth." I remembered my father saying, "A strong tree stands by its roots, not its leaves." Those memories filled me with strength. I stopped seeing myself through the lens of others' judgment. I understood that the life we had built was not founded on love, but on fear. The fear of not fitting in, of being unwanted. But the fear was gone now, and in its place stood clarity. I no longer wanted to live hiding my roots, ashamed of myself. If to some I will always remain a village disgrace, so be it. To myself, I am a woman with a story and a soul. After the dinner, I stepped out into the cool July night. A gentle breeze touched my face, carrying the scent of grass, and something deeply familiar from childhood. I walked slowly, but with every step I felt stronger. Ahead of me stretched a life without the role of the convenient wife, without fear of reproach, without the constant need to justify my existence. I realized freedom is not in loud gestures, but in the quiet decision never to betray yourself again. Passing a shop window, I caught my reflection. For the first time in years, I looked at it with warmth. Wrinkles, a simple dress, a kind gaze. This was my truth. Not shame, but my path, my history, my strength. That night, I didn't walk home to my husband. I walked home to myself, to the village girl, to the woman brave enough to speak the truth. And in that return, I found the most important respect of all, the one that begins within, and no longer depends on anyone's words.